So down at Imperial Brava, my home ground for 10 years, Bruno Brokken joins us. How are you doing, Bruno?
Hey, Regan, I'm fine, thank you.
Good to see you. Professional camera flyer for a long, long time. You've been skydiving 40 years. I know that because it's 10 years more than me. And today's a big celebration, really. 15 years since the 400 way in Thailand.
Yes, it's exactly 15 years ago. So we have a little group on Facebook, and there's a lot of pictures coming in from not only in the air, also on the ground, and so it was a great team, great effort.
You filmed a lot of the major records over the years. What was the first one you filmed?
The first one was the 150 way in Belgium, in 92.
Yeah. And working its way up to a 400 way. How many camera flyers were on that 400 way?
I'm not sure. I think we were more than 10. Huh? I think we were 11 or something, 12. Yeah. There was also some ground cameramen. I think total we were like 14, 15.
So let's tell people a little bit about it. Probably people who are not from skydiving, what exactly it was. 400 people from, was it 5 C-130s?
Yes, that's right. So it was the world record of big formation and free fall. So this kind of record have been done since the 70s, official ones. I think it started with a 12 way, I think in 73 or something like that. And then it was beaten every year, every 2 years, every 3 years, something like that. And then it went, all the way to a 400 way. And this is the longest record that's not been beaten now. And it's going to be hard, I think.
Yeah. What's the problem for getting bigger? Logistics?
I think the problem is logistics. I think there's enough people that can do it. But the problem is to get them together in one place. Yeah. Do it at the price they can afford or whatever. Finding the planes already, like in Thailand, we have 5 C-130s and 1 spare one. So that's like a small. Some countries don't even have an air force like that. So yeah, it's going to be complicated. Plus the jump, we jumped all the way from around 25,000 feet. I think on one load we were over 26,000 feet. And that's really the limit for the altitude, because we had oxygen on board, but once we were out, there was no oxygen, so it's the limit. You can't go higher.
And you start off, you leave with the group, with one of the groups from one of the planes, and as it starts to formate, as people come, you come further and further away. Well, 400 is a long way away, no?
Yeah. Well, no, actually. We all assigned to one group.
Yeah.
So we kind of follow this group as they come in the formation.
Yeah. And
then when our sector is there, we just film the whole thing. That was our job.
You did it.
Yeah. it was crazy because now on this group we have on Facebook, it's like a group of all the participants on that.
Yeah.
And you hear some stories that we all didn't know about it, with problems with oxygen. Some people were sick, and it's a lot of people, there's always something happening.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that it works, really.
So the oxygen, you've got oxygen tanks on the aircraft, and you have clear pipes, surgical pipes coming down the plane so people can have one each.
Yes, most people have this helmet that they put the pipe straight in there. The tube, they put it in there. But like the camera people, we had open helmets, so we just put something in the nose or like a tube in the mouth, and that's what we had to deal with.
And a little bit colder there at 25,000 feet.
It's cold, but you're so busy and the adrenaline, and so it's okay.
Yeah. So in Imperial Brava right now, you're under COVID restrictions. There's not been much jumping for quite a while for you.
No, it's been closed since end of October. Yeah. And I don't think they will open again until people can travel, like from Barcelona to here. Right now, we can only go in the area, like maybe 20 kilometers around. So people from Barcelona cannot come here unless they have a job here or something. So unless this happens, Ampura Brava is closed. So that's it. Problem for a lot of people.
Yeah. But you've been so busy for so many decades. To get a break like this would never normally happen for you, would it? To have this time down?
No, the only times I had a break really is when I had a break. So I had a few mishaps, but I think the longest time I've ever been grounded before this pandemic was probably 3 months.
Yeah, well, that was the water.
This, but I also broke my foot once, and it was also 3 months, and so yeah. Had a few breaks.
So many people watching are going to be thinking, 40 years jumping out of planes. How many jumps do you do in 40 years? It's people can't comprehend, but you're talking over 30,000 jumps.
Well, I've got about 27,000 jumps, but most are word jumps. That's probably since the last 32 years, it's been my job. Yeah. So most of the jumps I do is, I used to do AFF and tandem and camera, also I still do camera. And so I wouldn't be afford to pay for that many jumps. So I think a normal, like let's say a weekend jumper, probably does 200-300 jumps a year, and that's pushing it. Yeah. And if you want to do more, it's possible, but you have to be there more days than only the weekends, and it starts to cost a lot of money. So
you've got quite an unusual anecdote, an unusual record really for parachutes and malfunctions of parachutes. The T-shirt you're wearing, Performance Designs, you've been with that company a long time.
Yeah, a long time, yeah.
Normally they'll say you have to use your reserve parachute on average every 3,000-4,000 jumps. When was the last time you used a reserve parachute?
The last time was in 93.
93?
Yes. So, and I've been averaging probably 800 jumps a year since. Yeah. And, but I started with, I had to reserve rides my first 50 jumps when I started.
Right.
And I have a total of 6 reserve rides. Yeah. And but not many the last years.
What do you account that down to? Is it just experience, packing technique, the quality of the equipment, dealing with functions?
It's a combination. I think it's a combination of the gear. Yeah. Depends what kind of parachute you jump. If you jump high performance parachute, the chances are bigger that you have a malfunction. If you have like with a more docile parachute, if you have a line twist, for example, it's not an issue. Yeah. Or normally it's not an issue. And with a high performance, you have to be kind of lucky that you get out of it.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think I've the last 20 years or so I've been jumping more docile parachutes, except when I was competing in swooping.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're jumping is it the PD Storm right now? Is that your canopy of choice?
It's a Spectre. I jump a Spectre. It's just a 7-cell parachute, and it's for camera. It's really great. It's got Dacron lines and a bigger slider, which makes really soft openings. I think some people would be scared of the opening because it's kind of slow, but I like it.
Well, take me right back then to those early days in Belgium when you were just a little boy. You had interest in aviation well before you started jumping, right?
Oh yeah, my dad was a military pilot, and he was flying planes in the military. So he flew all kinds of planes. His first operational plane he flew on was a Spitfire.
Yeah, was it really?
Then he was the last squadron on Spitfire in Belgium, and then he flew the first jets, which was the Gloucester Meteor, and then the Hawker Hunter. And then at the end of the career, he went on helicopters, big Sikorsky helicopters. And that was the only time I flew with him was with skydivers. There's a competition in Schaffen in Belgium, and I think it was early 70s. I was 8 or 9 years old, and I went up in the back of the helicopter with the skydivers, and I remember thinking that they're crazy, and but it impressed me a lot. So a few years later, I decided to start jumping myself.
So your dad was already flying skydivers, or was that a one-off thing?
No, they used, with the helicopters, they used to fly a lot with skydivers for the military, for competitions, also for training. So he did us quite a lot.
And when did you decide then that it was going to be your turn to jump out of a plane? How did that start?
No, that was just a coincidence. There was a little skydiving club in my town, and with a friend we decided to try it out.
Yeah.
It was 1980, so there was no AFF, no tandem, so we had to do static climb. And it was also with round parachutes. So the first few I did was with rounds that were not even steerable, so they were completely round, like the military.
Yeah.
And then went to steerable, and then after about 50 jumps, I went on square parachutes.
How old were you when you started, Bruno?
17.
Were you working at the time? Did you have a job?
No, I was in school. So, but I think jumping was much cheaper back then. But still, I used to go play on the piano or organ or something in a restaurant to pay for my jumps.
Yes.
Because there was no jobs in skydiving back then. It was just clubs. So you could not make money with packing or things like that. Yeah. So I had to do something.
Did you teach yourself to play piano?
Well, I had a little bit of school, like a year, but then I hated it, going to school the Saturday and so. So I quit, but I kept playing. So that's it.
Yeah, you're still playing now. In fact, you're there in your man cave with all your audio equipment and your video.
Yeah. I play. It's my hobby, so I play a lot.
So after those 50 jumps, you'd be what, like 18 now, 18 and 19?
Yeah, probably took half a year. Yeah.
And you weren't working. You were still doing your piano in restaurants and things.
Yeah. I only started working in skydiving when I had about 900 jumps, 900 to 1,000 jumps.
Was that in Belgium?
Yes, I got my AFF instructor rating in '87, so I started doing AFF in Belgium, but we were not paid. We were getting jump tickets. Right. So for every AFF we did, we get a fun jump ticket. So that kept me going.
And so how did you move from there then? What was the decision, or what was it, a strike of luck? What happened?
No, it was. I came to Spain just for holidays, really.
Yeah.
And then I was gonna stay a few weeks, and then they needed somebody that spoke French to do an AFF student, because the French-speaking instructors were not here.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing AFF here, and then came back the next year. I did my tandem rating and I stayed here.
What year was that then?
Well, when I stayed here was 88 then.
Yes.
I first time came here 87, and 88 that's when I did my tandem rating also, and then stayed.
88, wow. So you've seen a lot of changes there. You've seen all the anniversaries go through, and
yeah, well, it's the sport has changed a lot. When I started, AFF and tandem didn't even exist.
Yeah.
So I saw like the first tandems in Belgium starting, and then AFF starting, and yeah, it was big changes. I remember when we started AFF in Belgium, there was some old skydivers in the bar saying, "What are these guys doing? They're crazy. They think they're in America here, you know." And look where it is now.
Yeah. We were talking recently about your first instructor. He's still going strong, isn't he?
Yes, Michel van Beers.
Yeah.
He was, I think he was, when I started, he was already 40 or 42 or something. So it's 40 years ago, and he's still jumping. He's living in Thailand.
Right.
And well, they also have the issues with the pandemic.
Yeah.
But He's still jumping.
So when was the first time you went outside Empuria Brava for a work jump? Would it be a big wave thing, or what did you do?
Well, I was lucky that before I came to Empuria Brava, there was already some quite big stuff happening in Belgium. They had the Hercules boogie.
Yeah.
They had the world record in '87 and the 26 way. Then they had, I think the Hercules boogie was until 90 or 91. So they already had quite big events there.
Yeah.
So and Empuria Brava had big Christmas boogie back then. It was really famous all over Europe. So yeah.
Yeah, they used to get 700-800 people there, didn't they?
Yeah. It was. They had to move to Girona because the airport was too small here for all the people and for the planes.
So how did they do that then? Because Girona Airport is an international airport. It must have been not much traffic at the time.
Yes, there was not much traffic back then. This was the days before Ryanair, and I think there was one charter flight coming in at night in the winter.
Yeah.
And we had the airport for us, really. We landed on the airport, and the whole terminal was for us. And yeah.
I forgot they used to do that. I never actually jumped down at Girona Airport. I first jumped in Empuria, I think, in 96, I think. So that might be after they started doing that.
Yeah, we used to, because here we have this local wind, as you know, the Tramontana.
Yeah.
And normally the Tramontana doesn't hit Girona. And we used to, normal days, if there was Tramontana here, we moved the whole operation to Girona Airport.
Wow.
Yeah.
So everybody would be just down there, bus down.
All the rigs and the van, the TVs, the recorders.
Wow.
All the, yeah.
Wow. You could probably do that again now, couldn't you? Because I don't think Girona Airport has much traffic these days.
Wow, we can't move, we can't go there.
No, of course not. But you're not allowed out of town or anything at all?
We were not allowed out of town until yesterday, and from today on we can go in the Comarca, they call it. It's to Figueras or to La Jonquera, which is like 20, 30 kilometers away, but not further.
But you've done some incredible episodes, some really big adventures. You know, the Blue Hole jumps with Rich Grimm, was it the North Pole you went to, and the pyramids?
Yeah.
Tell me about some of those things.
Well,
the North Pole, for instance, I would like to hear.
The North Pole, for example, that was Patrick de Garadon. All the skydivers, well, also the new skydivers should know who he is, especially if you're wingsuiting, because he's the guy that reinvented wingsuiting, because there was wingsuiters in the 40s, 50s, but they all died basically.
Yeah, I was going to say they all died.
Yeah, but he kind of is the inventor of the modern wingsuiting thing. So, and back then sky surfing was in.
Yes.
Big time, and he was sponsored by a sector, and they decided to go to the North Pole for some publicity. And so one day Patrick called me. I knew him from here when he came to jump at boogies and so on. He called me and said, "You want to come to North Pole?" I said, "Yeah, why not?" So that's it.
How was that? Was there anything surprising about it, or was it as you would expect it to be?
Well, I called a friend of mine, Henny Wiggins, a cameraman from Holland.
Yeah.
And he was there in '93, the year before I went. And I remember the story, they got stuck there for 3 days on the North Pole.
Wow.
Because some people got hurt, and they needed these 2 or 3 helicopters there, like Mi-8 that can probably carry 20 people. And they needed the helicopters to bring the people back that were hurt. So they had to stay there until the helicopters came back.
Yeah.
But then the weather moved in, bad weather. So they were stuck there in a small tent with a lot of people on the North Pole. So, and then he also explained me about the camera equipment, how to keep it from freezing and so on.
How'd you do that?
Because it's the cameras were in cases and then bags around it with some heating packs.
Yeah.
Also the cables, the plastic the cables for the remote control, and so they had to be protected because it's so cold that they would break. They would be all stiff and then break if you move them.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of things you have to be careful with. So it was minus 30 something, 32 or something on the ground, 34, I'm not sure anymore. And so we jumped from 10,000 feet. I don't know how cold it was there, but it was cold.
Did you wear anything special? Did you wear anything?
Sorel. My Sorel.
Sorel. That's what I wanted to say.
Yes, we had a lot of layers of clothes on. Also in the gloves, I had these chemical heat packs.
Yeah.
And then in the shoes also, and around the cameras. So, yeah.
So the other end of the weather spectrum, jumping in Belize into the Blue Hole.
Yeah. Well, that's Rich Grimm. He's a American guy that organizes the exotic boogies. And maybe 10 years ago, I saw some picture of the Blue Hole, maybe more, 12 years ago. So I contacted Rich and see if it was possible to come along and take pictures.
Yeah.
So I went along in 2010, and it was just amazing. The Blue Hole is in the middle of the sea. It's like 50 miles from land.
There's no land anywhere near it.
No, as you know. And yeah, and that's special. It's like the view is there, it's so nice, the colors. And it's a special jump because you have to land in the water. Yeah, it's kind of...
There's no choice. You definitely
no choice. Not much choice there.
And how do you keep your camera equipment dry when you do that?
I have a high-tech plastic bag around it.
Yes.
And a shower cap.
A shower cap around the camera.
And then I try not to do one of your landings in the water.
I don't know what happened. I kind of went in like a diver. I don't know.
Yes, I know. I remember that. You disappeared.
It was about 12 foot deep. I don't know why.
Yeah, I would have no more cameras like this.
So I've jumped into the Blue Hole twice. How many times have you jumped in there?
7.
And how many times has Rich Grimm jumped in? Do you know?
I think it's 11 or 12 or something.
Yeah. You're going to be difficult to catch him on that.
Yeah, well, I went there last year. I did 3 and Rich did only 1, so I'm slowly catching up.
Yes. In fact, I remember one of those boogies where I did a landing into the water, not in the Blue Hole, but further away from where we should be landing. And then you reminded me about what was in the water.
Yes. Well, I just landed. I came and helped you to get out of the water.
Yeah.
And then I mentioned you didn't have a helmet on. I mentioned that you were bleeding. And you said, "Oh, it's fine. It's only a little bit." I banged my head in the door. And then I told you, you know, there's full of sharks here. And that's when you walked up the jetty.
Like one of those cartoons.
Like this.
Good times. Good. In fact, this time last year, we were just arriving in the Maldives. You've been there for 2 weeks already. And we were going into the second part. 1 week you've been there. Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, last year was the boogie that Rich also organized in the Maldives, which was crazy. It's like a little island, Kudu it's called. Only a landing strip and a hotel, that was it. We were there with there was 3 weeks of boogies with every time more than 100 skydivers. So a total of 400 people went there on that little island. It was crazy. Just
before the world shut down.
That's a few weeks before.
Yeah, yeah.
We just heard, before we left there, we heard something about something in China and 1 or 2 in Italy. And then when we came back, it was a few weeks later, that was it.
Yeah, crazy times, crazy times. So, in the pyramids, how was that? You'd been there just once, have you, Bruno, to the pyramids?
No, I've been twice.
Right.
I was there in 2018 and last year again, with a group called Skydive Egypt.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's also amazing because they let you land literally 50 meters from the big pyramid, which is crazy. You know, it's like the view is amazing. You're right next on the edge of Cairo, and yeah, last time we even did a night jump there, which is crazy.
Wow. And then they're obviously heavily illuminated. You can see them quite easily.
Yes, they had big lights there and a few cars. it was quite easy to see. And the pyramids themselves, they are illuminated.
So after all this time and all these different events and places you've been, is there any particular thing which sticks out as being a big memory for you, something very, very special? Or is it just too many different things?
No, I cannot say one thing, you know, like skydiving wise, it's for sure the records, like the 400 way or the 100 way crew, canopy formation. That was amazing stuff.
Yeah. And
also the competitions, which I did some competition freestyle filming and then canopy piloting, and it's all great, you know, it's all amazing stuff, crazy stuff.
I'm just thinking now about your freestyle stuff with Marco Manna. That was in the early 90s. Skydiving almost broke through to mainstream. It was Extreme Games who were sponsoring it, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was before the Extreme Games was. First one was in Rhode Island in '95. So, and that was with sky surfing. That was involving sky surfing, and freestyle started a bit before that. The competitions. I think the first freestyle. Sky surfing competition was actually in Apura Brava, '93.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just remembering a story you told me about the camera crew in the aircraft were checking on people to make sure they were okay.
That was there was somebody was in charge of safety.
Yes.
So because it was off, we had like live transmission to the ground, and there was only one team exiting per pass. So we were jumping from a Casa 212, which is like maybe 20 people on board. And then by the time, if you were with the last teams, it would take a while at altitude, at 12,000 feet. We had oxygen and so, but still, someone was coming around to ask if everybody's okay, you know. But after a few jumps, well, we are okay. I was with my Belgian friend. I say, I put a funny face when he came the next time, so, and he thought I was sick.
Can you show us the funny face you did?
No.
Oh, tell us about when you met Neil Armstrong. That was incredible.
Well, yeah, that was '97 in Efes in Turkey.
Yes.
That was the World Championships skydiving, and also the World Air Games with all the air sports. And during the competition, there was a guy that showed up, and a lot of people didn't know who he was. And then you could hear people talk, hey, that's Neil Armstrong, that's Neil Armstrong. And then, a lot of people wanted the picture taken with him, wanted signature. He doesn't like to give signatures, but he had to. And then I have a funny story about that. It's Patrick Pass. There was the American team there, I think it was the Golden Knights, and Neil Armstrong. And so Patrick was there to take pictures like myself. And he didn't take a picture of the team with Armstrong because he thought he was the mayor or somebody from the airport.
Yes.
So he waited until that older person was away, and then he took a picture of the Golden Knights. Oh. Afterwards, he found out it was Neil Armstrong.
Wow. He was in the aircraft with you, wasn't he?
Yes, he went up in one lot with, I think it was with the people doing freestyle.
Yeah.
With the Cessna Caravan. So, and Roland Hilfiger, who was one of the main organizers there, he asked me to go along to take some pictures and so. So when everybody jumped out, I was in the plane basically we were 4 people left, with Neil Armstrong.
Yes. Did he sign your helmet?
That's when he signed my helmet. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say he said something quite funny to him as he was leaving the aircraft. He wasn't wearing a parachute. He was on the ground leaving the aircraft. No,
he was sitting on the ground. He had a parachute on for safety.
Yeah.
But when he got out, we all know the Cessna Caravan is quite high. They put a ladder there, but I told him, be careful, it's a big step. So he laughed a little bit.
Just a little bit. So what's next? Do you think? Have you got any plans for 2021, Bruno? Anything you can talk about, or is it all?
Well, for the moment, I hope we can jump again soon. That's really what I'm looking forward to. Nobody knows what's happening, so we hope we can jump by March, April, and then have a kind of normal season.
Yes. Well, you've got plenty of time with the dogs and with your Gabby, and with your house, and with your music.
Yeah, actually, we're not complaining. You know, even last year we had a full lockdown where we couldn't go out of the house, but we were lucky we have the garden, so we're not complaining.
Good. Have you been writing any music over the winter?
If you can call it writing, yeah.
Well, it's been fantastic to catch up with you, Bruno. Before we go, are you going to give us a few chords? I know you've got your keyboard right behind you.
No.
No?
I want one. Wait.
Just do the first bit of that again. So I'll say, well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been
there's a lot of echo here. I don't know why.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bruno Brokken, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us, Bruno. Great to see you, my friend.
Okay, Regan. Nice speaking with you. See you. Say hi to Liz.
I will.